Hey, you direct communicators. I know efficiency is super important to you. Today, I'm going to expose 5 reasons that you're wasting time and self-sabotaging your efficiency, and I'm going to give you solutions of how to overcome it. So welcome to the Help for Leaders podcast. I'm Stacey Harris. Before we dive into today's episode, I want you to click here to subscribe, hit that bell so that you're notified each week when we post new episodes. Today, we're going to start a series of 4 episodes on time wasters. I'm going to go through each of the 4 styles, and today we're going to start with that dominant direct style. So dominance is how you handle problems and challenges. D individuals are direct. They're decisive. They want results. That can come across as being impatient and aggressive at times. Ds also like to start lots of different things and can get involved in way too many tasks. And because of that, you're inefficient because you're just distracted and moving from one thing to the other very quickly. So I want to talk about how to be more efficient with your time and really how to increase your performance. There are 5 reasons high Ds waste time, and I want to talk about those today, and I want to give you solutions to overcome those obstacles. The first thing that I want to talk about is poor delegation. That's that inability to figure out what's most important and focusing your time and attention on those tasks. There's a couple of reasons that is happening for you direct communicators. So the first possible cause is you don't want to give up control. Ds like to control situations. They like to control circumstances. They like to exhibit their assertiveness in the situation, and being able to delegate is actually removing yourself from the situation and relinquishing control. So that's the first possible cause. Another thing that can cause this is your inability to trust other people on your team. You just haven't taken the time to trust your team members and leaning into their strengths because you don't understand their abilities. You don't actually know the strengths that your team members are bringing to the table. It could even be a fear that their strengths are going to overshadow yours. If we just get real, Ds don't want to be overshadowed. And so that could also be a cause for you not delegating. You're afraid that they're stepping into something that maybe you want to get the recognition for. And then lastly, if you're really aware of other people's loads, you don't want to overload them. And so you're coming from a standpoint of, there are already so many things on their plate. I don't want to delegate because I don't want to overload them. So those are some of the causes. So let's talk about the solutions. First of all, training and mentoring your team members can be a solution to help you overcome these obstacles. If you actually invest in your people, you train them to actually delegate those responsibilities, and then not only supporting you and developing those things, but giving them some of your authority, giving them the opportunity to step into those places and delegating not only the responsibility, but the authority to accomplish the task. And then the last solution is actually when you train others in some of the routine tasks, is actually going to give you back your time to focus on higher priority needs. So delegation, number 1, in time wasters for that high D style. The second time waster is firefighting. It's often defined as kind of pulling away from some of the priorities to go answer and solve problems just in the immediate. It has to do with what things flare up and then they go away quickly. That's what firefighting is all about. When an immediate need comes up, and because of your drive to solve problems and you love a challenge, it can actually bring energy to you, but it can waste your time. And so some of the causes is that desire to just be a quick problem solver. You love to actually be able to jump in quickly and solve something without all of the information that you need. So understanding that about yourself can help you solve that problem. Another cause for firefighting is lack of delegation, which we just talked about. That was number one. The lack of just standard operating procedures and having a plan can also be a reason for firefighting. Even making poor or wrong decisions and priorities, focusing on the wrong thing can be a reason that you're constantly just firefighting. And then failing to properly assess the situation. You may actually think that this problem is more intense than it actually is. That can be a cause. So let's talk about the solutions. First of all, having a plan. Any direct communicator will say, I have a plan. Let me tell you, we don't always have a written plan. Procedures for certain solutions that maybe come up constantly and you're recreating it every time. So actually having a plan can be a big solution to firefighting. Even creating kind of operational procedures for tasks and known problems. And then this last one I want to mention is establishing a management by objective approach. This is a strategic management model that really aims to improve performance. It was written by or created by Peter Drucker in the 1950s. He wrote a book called The Practice of Management. If you haven't heard of this management model, I would highly encourage you to go check it out. It's really directed at those high D individuals. It's a strategic plan on how to improve performance in an organization by really having clear objectives. Okay, number 3 in time wasters for direct communicators, crisis management. And this is a management style that is consistently driven by uncontrolled external issues as the preferred method of management. Are you someone who just loves a crisis? You want to run head on into that? Let me tell you, I've seen it in so many organizations, and it's pretty normal for direct communicators. It's all about reacting instead of being proactive. Proactive approach is thinking through a problem before it happens rather than crisis management, which is just more firefighting and being reactive. So what are some of those possible causes? Back to lack of planning. That is a possible cause for crisis management. Also, placing unrealistic time requirements on people and tasks. You just aren't aware of the time that it takes individuals to accomplish certain things, and you just keep piling things on their plates. When you have an unrealistic expectation of people and tasks, that's crisis management 101. Another possible cause is just always looking for problems to solve. That's your nature. You're great at that. But when everything becomes a problem, when it's really not, that's crisis management. So here are some solutions. Having a well-defined organizational plan. Do you see a theme here with direct individuals on time wasters? Taking the time initially to plan can set yourself up for success rather than having to rework projects and seeing failure. Also, targeting key people to handle specific problems. That's a big part of your organizational development. So giving people responsibilities, seeing what their strengths are, that can be helpful in solving that problem. And then also just asking for people's recommendations from key people in your organization. You know, direct communicators are usually doing all the telling, but if you'll pause and ask for their solutions, it can really benefit you and your team and save you time in the long run. And then back to that number 1, delegating authority and responsibility can also help you in solving crisis management. Okay, number 4. On time wasters for direct communicators, lack of a written plan. I mean, has this been a theme you've seen throughout every single one of these? But it is so key to enhancing your performance and not wasting your time, actually having a written plan. So a plan that is going to kind of look at overall business plan. It's not just about mission, vision, goals, objectives, task management. I mean, it's all about even obtaining the resources to do all of those things. And so it could just be as simple as writing down your priorities and even writing down daily activities. I know many visionaries have kind of their overarching goal for the year, and you have your big rocks for each quarter, but is it boiled down to your daily to-do list? That can be really helpful of actually having it down in writing. So some possible causes are we're so action-oriented. We just want to get results. We just want to get things done so quickly and get it done now. that we don't want to pause and write it down. And then sometimes priorities just change, right? Life comes at you, and maybe it's, we're self-imposing those changes, or maybe others are imposing it, but things are constantly changing. That could be a cause. Maybe we just haven't been successful with planning in the past, and so we've just kind of forgotten it. Don't let those failures keep you from succeeding moving forward. And then maybe we just want to go with the flow. That is this girl. I'm all about free flowing. In fact, I don't want to keep looking at my notes right now. I feel this constraint of my written plan as I'm talking to you about time wasters. I spent the time to write it down, so why don't I focus on all this good content that I've written down? It's because of this need to go with the flow and not be stifled by what I wrote down. So here are some solutions. So write down not only personal, but job-related specifics, and even prioritize them. That's going to help you. Write out long-term plans and even support all of those things through your values, and then recognizing that having priorities clearly written, even when constant change is happening, it'll replace all of those kind of fires that pop up with our written plan. And then the last time waster for direct communicators are snap decisions. And that is something that we're just moving too quickly without like having all the necessary information or taking the time to process that information. So some of the possible causes for snap decisions are our impatience. We don't take the time to gather all of the information. We're impatient. Everything feels urgent. We're trying to do too much. Our plate is just overfilled, and we're constantly adding more things to it. That can be a reason that we're just making snap decisions. Failure to plan in advance, and then not having specific goals. Those can be causes. Now, here are the solutions. Asking for recommendations. Slowing down enough to ask others for recommendations can help you from making those rash or snap decisions. Establishing process so that you're setting yourself up for success instead of failure, and then establishing some real standard operational procedures, or even having some alternatives in case other problems arise. So I hope you've learned something. I've shared 5 kind of common areas of time drains for that high D style, and I've given you some strategies to overcome those. So I hope you'll make a written plan, slow down enough to listen to other people so that you're not making those rash decisions, not fighting fires, learn how to delegate. All of these will benefit you in the long run. Join me next week. I'm going to talk about the high I, outgoing style, and 5 reasons that style typically wastes time and is less efficient, so that we can learn how to maximize our time and enhance our performance. If you enjoyed this episode and would like more information on emotional intelligence, DISC, or communication, click here to get more content. And we'd also love for you to click here to subscribe so you're notified each week when we post new episodes.